Hey everyone, welcome to the session. A lot of you have been asking me to talk about how to improve test scores, etc. And this is an important video for all of you, not just in the 45-day framework. The title of the video is what you can see: improving test scores in the last 45 days, because it's topical to my day and when I'm making this video. But it'll be important for you to look at this even in a 2-month, 3-month context, or even a 30-day context. Just the change will be in the timelines in which you'll implement the ideas presented in this lesson. So without any further ado, let's straight away jump into the topic for today. You're with me, Arun Sharma, and you're on the Arun Sharma Mindworks channel. And before I move into the contents of the video, please understand, or please subscribe to our YouTube channels. These are the channels we would love to have all of you on. The Arun Sharma Mindworks channel, which is where we are watching this, the Arun Sharma Academy, and the Verbal Teacup. These are channels which are focused towards stuff that you will definitely want to learn or hear about from us. So let's get straight away into the topic. Actually, one more thing before I go there. You can also connect with us on Facebook. Cat Prep with Arun Sharma is the group, and on Telegram there's an Arun Sharma Absolute channel, which you can find on Telegram and join that. So I look forward to connecting with all of you on these mediums. So before so as a start of the session, the first point I want to make is what you see now on screen with you, and this is about understanding and respecting the timelines available. So in 45 days, roughly it's about 100 study sessions, give or take, right? So you'll be able to sit maybe twice a day on average, or maybe a little bit more than two if you push yourself a little bit. My recommendation will be definitely push yourself a little bit. So you have 100 study sessions, out of which maybe around 20 study sessions you'll be spending on your 20 to 30 study sessions you'll be spending on your tests. Last 1 month you can plan between 10 to 20 more mock tests for yourself. So the whole issue then becomes that remaining 70-80 study sessions, and not just this 80 study sessions outside your testing, but also what do you do inside your testing and test analysis. That's going to be a very vital ingredient in terms of what how you want to take your preparation to the next level and your scores to the next level. So that's where the whole change will be. But my first point is this one, that you need to respect the timelines available. So what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is that if you've got a 100 study session timeline available, you cannot initiate a process, let's say for improving something. Let's say your verbal is weak and you start learning vocabulary, which is maybe a 50 to 80 study session requirement to have any significant effect in your scores. So if you're going to consume 80 study sessions out of 100 on vocabulary now, it's not going to pay off, right? So, and obviously there's a limit to how much you can cram into yourself in 45 days or 1 month or 2 months time frame. So there are different processes that are part of your CAT prep, or in fact any other exam that you might be preparing for. There are different aspects of your prep process which will take you or which will give you very different outcomes in different time frames, right? So improving your reading, for example, or improving awareness of various topics. Right now, if you want to do 20 topics, you don't have the time frame to do it, right? You can do it for a couple of topics, but you don't have time frame to improving your understanding of 20 different topics now. So you have to respect the timelines, and whatever plans and formulations you make for doing your next level or going to the next level in your CAT prep, those plans have to be such that they give you payoff within the 100 time frames, study session time frames. So that's what I wanted to talk to you about. So the first question then is how to improve your test scores in the last 45 days. That's actually the question to be answered in this video, and hope this will help you. So the first major point I want to make, and I'm going to make 4 or 5 major points here. One is behavioral improvement through better mind control. Now, while this is easily said, it's not so easily done. And the question that arises is that how do I do it? Exam में जब जाता हूँ तो वहाँ तो फंस जाता हूँ, and my mind takes extreme it has extremities in terms of its nervousness and various emotions that I feel, due to which I am not able to control my mind. So is there something practical? ये बात तो सब लोग बोल रहे हैं तुमको. Everybody is telling you this कि behavioral improvement करना है और अपने mind को control करना है, etc. But is there something practical you can actually do about it? Well, that's something I pride myself upon, being very practical with respect to whatever advice I give people. It's not just about ये इस तरह से करो या ये करो, but it's also about क्या करने से तुमको इसका outcome मिलेगा. So that's what I wanted to move to. So what are the practical steps? And the first one is actually, I might sound a little bit, not just a little bit, but actually quite a bit spiritual when I say this. And this is what every religion also tells you, and this is also what spirituality tells you, and this is what I will tell you, that you need to dissociate with your result. You currently are very too associated or too invested in your results. So your joy or your outcomes or your fructification of the year depends on the result of the CAT exam for you. So while that is okay while you're preparing, but during the test, that's a bad thought to have. So result dissociation or in other words, I call it over-investment in the results, that you are investing too much of yourself in the results and too little of yourself is free from the burden of results. So that's one thing that you need to do. And while it's, as I said, while it is easier said, but doing it is going to be a difficult or a pretty not difficult, but doing it will take a little bit more effort from you than just thinking about it. So what do you mean by result dissociation, and what is the logic for result dissociation? And that's the first major point I want to tell you, and maybe this is the biggest point that I want to tell you, because I know that in case you can handle your mind better in the exam, the potential for score improvement that each one of you will have would be around 30 to 40 marks in a 200 mark exam. And as you know, that would count for maybe 10-15 percentile difference in this thing, in your final percentile outcomes. So result dissociation का मतलब क्या है कि if you're too invested in something, if you're too invested in, let's say you have bought a share of 1,000 rupees and you bought 1,000 units of that, and the share price goes up or goes down during the day, and for some reason you're going to sell it by the end of the day. So you bought 1,000 units at 1,000 rupees each, and during the day the price of the share goes to 920. So you're highly invested in that result. So you are going to be very nervous about it. But in case you're not invested in that result, let the share price go to 800 or 1,200, you're not going to be bothered. So similarly, inside the exam, when you are taking an exam, you need to, and it's a very fine act, and it's part of your growing up, where you need to tell yourself, okay, I am more bothered about my effort. I'm more bothered about what I'm doing to develop myself and what I'm doing, what effort I'm putting in this year's attempt at CAT. I have only myself to answer to, and I'm okay with whatever results I get. I'll accept my results and move on in life, right? If the results come out positive, great. I would enjoy all the benefits of it. But if the results do not come out positive, then also I'll have a way out and a way back. And that's always true, because as I always tell you, and this is an important thought that I wanted to insert into your mind, that you actually need to grow up from being very, very dependent. I mean, dependence on results basically shows lack of maturity and lack of control of yourself. And as I always tell people, that what will happen to you in 2020 might affect you for a year or two, but it does not affect your whole life. It does not affect who you will be in 2030. If you look at it the other way, 2010, go back 10 years ago and try to think about things that were very important for you during that time, things that were absolutely critical for you at that time, and maybe you failed at something. Does that failure count in the year 2020? Is it still impeding you? So you'll realize that nothing that happened in 2010, unless it killed you or maimed you, otherwise nothing that happened in 2010 affects your 2020, who you are and what you're doing and how well you do it. Hence, please remember this: any event, including a CAT result in 2020, is not going to affect your 2030. It can affect 21, 22, and hence that's what that's the biggest the point, the practical steps with respect to dissociating for yourself from the result or disinvesting in the result, is to actually create an alternate backup plan of action. Tell yourself, or as I said in the next slide, you need to grow up and you need to become more self-assured, and you will be more self-assured in case you are not scared of the situation, and you're not scared of the more you're scared of loss, and the more you are in fear of loss, the more you will be affected, or your mind will be in an affected state during the exam. So imagine there's a dog going on the street, and he's very confident, and he's running on the street, and then you come in front of him and you pick up a stone and make a action of throwing that stone on him. So his state of mind immediately changes, because he starts fearing the loss that he perceives in that event, where he feels that he is at bodily harm and bodily danger. So his self-assurance, etc., goes for a 6 at that time. So exactly that is happening to you when you are taking the test. What is happening to you when you are taking the test is that your self-assurance is getting disturbed. It's getting shaken from the roots, and you're allowing it to shake you, because you have got so much investment in the results. So the moment you start, ironically, disinvesting in your results, and the moment you start telling yourself, okay, I'm going to accept myself. Talk to the 3 closest people to you. Tell them that even if I'm not going to succeed, please tell me that you're going to accept me. Talk to your parents, talk to your brothers, sisters. Tell them, and I'm quite sure they'll tell you that they will accept you whether you succeed or not. And make that so to say, the net the net that'll arrest your fall in case you fail. Make that beforehand. Have a backup plan how you'll come back, and automatically you will start thinking less about the results inside the exam. And the moment you start doing that, you will start getting better control of your solving. The problem is that why this affects you a lot, and this is true not just in CAT prep. You can also see it if you follow sports. Suppose there's a cricketer or a tennis player or a badminton player or any sport, and this guy has practiced hundreds and thousands of hours a particular skill, right? Let's say a tennis player has practiced service. So his practice of his service is basically the physical practice of the motion of the service. Now when he goes into the match and he allows those extra pressures to come in, that if I don't serve this to serve right, what will happen in this match, and if I lose the match, what will happen to my life? If he starts putting all these into the picture, the next thing that happens is that when he's putting that serve in, his trained version is not coming out. So remember this. Even similarly for CAT, when you're solving the CAT, there's a trained version of you, and there's an untrained, fearful version of you. So if you allow the fearful, untrained version to come into the exam while taking the test, he's not the trained version. He's not skilled enough for you to solve it. For solving those questions, he's not practiced it. Your trained version is under wraps inside the exam, and that's one of the reasons why your scores are limited. And I can tell you this from my own experience. I've spent 50 plus hours taking the CAT exam myself, and when I was taking my CAT exam, the first CAT that I was taking, I was able to improve my scores only through my testing. Through around 15-20 tests, I was able to improve my scoring numbers by around 100 marks. At that time, 100 marks was on a scale of +1 and -0.25. The underlying construct to improve your score by 100 marks was being able to solve 80 questions more accurately, 80 questions correctly, more than what you were solving earlier, in a 2-hour framework. So with that expertise, this is what I'm coming to, and this was my biggest theme or structure, and this always has been my biggest theme for all students who actually want this. So now let's look at the technicalities. Otherwise, you'll come and say that Arun Sharma did this video and he didn't even talk about the technicalities. So QA ka technicality, very quickly I'll go through. QA ka technicality is first audit your portion coverage. Kौन से chapters cover हो गया, कितने बार cover हो गया, how many times have you covered, and when you've covered it, how many questions have you solved? Measure it against the number of questions ideally you should solve. You know those numbers. I've also talked about in other videos in this channel. And then audit your performance. What's happening in your tests? How many attempts can you make? What is your accuracy? But this is just the first level of audit. The second level of audit, after auditing a performance on the test level, is audited blockwise. What's your attempt on the blocks? If a particular block, let's say the algebra block, there are 6 questions. on average in 7-8 tests that you've taken, what are your attempts? What is the accuracy there? And what are your chapter-wise attempts and accuracy? Go into an individual chapter. What's happening to you in time, speed, distance? When questions come, what are your attempts and accuracy? Because then you will be coming up with very, very targeted things. Because देखो अभी अगर start करोगे with 45-day framework, 100 study sessions, if you start saying कि मेरे को maths पूरा पढ़ना है, it won't work. But if you are talking about कि how to improve my time, speed, distance, it could be 3 to 5 study sessions required there. Right? So what's happening on your test is part of the very critical part of the audit. And this is a slide I actually wanted to explain to you because it's very important for you. So what is this slide all about? So during a test, you have these 4 kinds of experiences on question. The first experience are questions that go through very smoothly for you. And after the test also you can solve that question. So those question types, maybe you can just try to think of when you analyze the question types or these 4 experiences, you analyze, you really don't need to do much on those topics or those chapters where this is happening. Maybe you can think about how you can do those faster, because what is already an advantage needs to be pushed home or needs to be ensured that it gives you the maximum advantage inside the exam on the D-Day. The second kind of question is where you get stuck in between. You start solving, and then you get the crosses mean stuck. You keep getting stuck in between, but then you are eventually able to solve it. And after your test also you are able to solve it. So try to identify which chapters this is happening, the second experience. Try to identify which block it is happening. And based on the block and chapter on which it is happening, what you start doing is you identify the block or the chapter that you need to work on. So why are you getting stuck in between? What are the reasons why you take wrong steps? What are the reasons why you take long steps? What are the reasons you hit a wall while solving those kind of questions or questions from that chapter? Try to analyze those things and then try to work on and invest 2 study sessions. Suppose you're finding that in let's say algebra, in a particular kind of question, you're having this problem. So I'd allocate 2 study sessions to that kind of problem, collect 40-50 problems of that kind. Right? Let's say algebra mein graph based problem mein tumko dikkat ho raha hai. You're having a problem and you keep getting stuck in those questions. So smoothing that problem out is about 50 study sessions, 50 questions, maybe 2 study sessions, 3 study sessions at max. And you just need to teach yourself the specific things at which you have those hiccups while solving. And the third one is also very critical. The third question type represents question types that you had more or less grip of to start with, but during the question, solving of the question, or towards the end of the question, you missed out. You couldn't solve it or you solved it wrong. And when you looked at this question after your test, you could solve it without those hiccups. This is a very important component of your test score improvement strategy, because this is the easiest to overturn. This means that you know these questions, but it's just that the belief or somehow under pressure you're not able to solve it. So this indicates to me, if a lot of this is happening, then this indicates, and the chapter in which a lot of this is happening, it indicates that you have done enough questions, you know enough stuff in that chapter. It's just about making sure that your learning cycle is complete. So to complete your learning cycle, I would recommend that you go back to that chapter, the chapter in which you're having experience 3. Go back to that chapter, redo all the questions you have done. Redo them 1 time, redo them 2 times, so that all the reactions get embedded deeper into your mind. And the 4th experience is the question which inside the exam you don't know, and it's not striking you. And then when you look at it after the exam, it can either end up with something that, okay, I knew how to do this, but I couldn't do it inside the exam. Then it's more of its solution is again what I talked about for experience 3. And if it's cross as an experience during a test, and cross, that means you can't solve it after your test, then you need to consider whether that question type or that chapter you need to do more questions or not. But please remember, in the first 3 experiences, you don't need more questions on the chapter. You don't need to practice more. Maximum you need to do is redo what you have done. Only chapters in which you're having a lot of the 4th experience, I don't know the question, I don't know what this question is saying. If that's happening in some chapter to you, then maybe in that chapter you pick up 100 questions. If it's happening in the whole block, pick up 200 questions. And anytime, this is a thumb rule, if you pick up 100, 150 good questions on a chapter and you go after solving them, you will definitely improve on that chapter. There is no doubt about that. So this is your strategy for quants. Now, what about data interpretation and logical reasoning? So obviously, first thing is audit your experience of how many sets you have done in DI, how many sets you have done on LR. Are you close to 200? If not, if you want to pick up 100 sets in DI, if you feel that your experience of problem solving in sets, in terms of sets in DI or LR is short or is less than what it should be, then you might want to pick up 100 sets at a time. 50 या 100 सेट्स का चंक बना लो कि इतना सेट्स में सॉल्व करूंगा नेक्स्ट 1 वीक में, एंड 50 सेट्स करने में कितना टाइम लगेगा? 5 to 6 days में you can do it. So the moment you add 50 sets to your experience, if your experience is short in solving those, the moment you add 50 sets, 100 sets of solving, you'll automatically get better at it. And then you also audit your performance. A performance audit mein, what you will do is you'll do two things. You need to identify what is restricting your score. How do you identify that? Is it ability to solve that is restricting, or speed which is restricting? And the best way to look at it is, let's say you pick up your mock test, 5 sets or 6 sets it has. So after you finish the paper, you give yourself 40 minutes more. If you solved it in 40 minutes, give yourself 40 minutes more, and see whether you can solve all the questions in double the time. If you can, that means it's not an ability to solve issue. Agar nahi solve hote hain, still a lot of questions which are not solvable, then the Y junction takes you to more problem solving. Okay, I need to practice 50 sets. I need to practice 100 sets of this type or this area. Right? But if in 80 minutes you can solve everything, then you don't need more experience of solving. You don't need more sets of solving. You need to work on your speed. And speed work, essentially the principal sources of speed, not just in DILR, but also in quants as well as in verbal. The principal sources of speed are basically to read only once. That's your biggest source of speed. So you'll have to teach yourself. If you have the ability to solve, कि 80 minutes में तो सब set निकाल लेता हूँ मैं, in 40 में 3 ही हो रहे हैं या 2 ही हो रहे हैं. So then it means that you have the ability, but you don't have the speed, or you don't have that 7th gear of solving which your competitors will have. And I can tell you that from my personal experience, that if I really want, at times inside the CAD, I bring out that 7th gear. I tell myself कि ये set 7 minutes में करना है और कर लेता हूँ मैं. And that's where the 99.9 plus percentiles happen. So if it's not an ability to solve issue and it's a speed issue, then you need to improve your reactions, improve your first time catching of the data, of the information, improve your anticipation of what kind of questions there are going to be, and also improve your anticipation of whether I should do this question first or that one first. So you work on a selection, improve the quality of a selection, and those are the things that you can work on. And for this video, I'll give you the facility. If you need to ask me some specific questions, you can type it on the chat below, and I will be happy to answer those questions in this on chat on the channel, of course. And also later, if you want, I can build a video specifically on the Q&A around this video. And verbal mein, of course, again, same thing, audit your attempts and accuracy. Let's say you're solving 16 questions in verbal and getting 12 right, 11 right. Or just like I was having a conversation with a Mindwork student yesterday. He's solving 16 in verbal, getting 10 right. So my first question to him was, if I give you 80 minutes, 40 minutes you're getting this. If I give you 80 minutes and you solve only 16 questions, you don't solve all 24. I give you 80 minutes and you solve only those 16 questions, can you get all of them right? Because if 80 minutes and you're still getting 11, 12 only right, then it's an ability issue. But if in 80 minutes you can get 15, 16 right, then what we need to learn is how to get that, what are you doing in 80 minutes, how do you do that attention span and focus and one-time reading, how do you do it in 40 so that you get the same accuracy rate. लेकिन अगर 80 में तुम्हारा accuracy rate वही है, 16 में से इधर 10 कर रहे हो 40 में, and in 80 minutes you are doing 16 में से 12, that means you don't have the ability to get answers right. And then that means that, especially if you have the biggest problem that most people of that sort have in verbal, they come down to 2 options and then they mark the wrong option or select the wrong option more often than not. If you are having that kind of a problem, then you need to look at the decision making leading up to that decision. You need to analyze that. It's not about solving 10,000 RCs or even 50 RCs or 100 RCs. It's not going to help you. You need to analyze what is going wrong. There's something going wrong in your thinking. Because verbal is not something where you have written down 2 plus 2 equals 4 and you can check it. But there's a thought process that's going on in your mind, which is leading you to an answer. And if it's leading you to the wrong answer more often than the correct answer, then that thought process is what needs to be repaired. Right? Nothing else. You just need to identify what is going wrong, and you will be able to see patterns of errors of thinking that you have, which are leading you to select the wrong answer. You are either misreading the question, you're misreading the statements of the author, you're misinterpreting chronology in the passage, you're misinterpreting the concept and the ideas in the passage and the relationship, you're misreading a cause as an effect. What are you doing? You need to identify that, and you need to sort it out in your mind. And it's very, very specific to the particular problem. It is not like I can tell you कि 2 plus 2 तुमने 5 कर दिया तो इसको अब से 4 करना start करो. It is a matter of intense research, but the verbal can be improved. Solving accuracy can be improved as far as you're understanding most of what is said. Solving ability can improve in a 20-30 day situation. Accuracy can improve. And of course, if there are a few topics, as I said at the start, if there are a few topics which you're having problems with, for example, let's say medical technology. If you have a problem in passages built around medical technology, then in a 100 study session framework, you might want to schedule reading 50 articles on medical technology. So you identify, you look at the past CAT papers, look at the past DAT papers, identify the areas on which the topics have been there, and identify which of these areas causes trouble for you to understand. And if you want to read one article of around 1,000 words, will take you maybe 10-12 minutes. So even if you talk about 50 articles, you are talking about 500 minutes on a particular topic. So 8 hours, so 3 study sessions. So you still have 5-7 major areas that you can repair in terms of your understanding ability with respect to passages and reading ability of various topics. And as you know, the more your network, the more the framework for a topic gets formed in your mind, the easier it becomes for you to grasp that topic. So if you have a topic in the exam for which you don't have a framework in your mind, you have not read that kind of articles, you have not read much on that topic, then finding or catching hold of it inside the exam becomes very difficult. But if there's a framework, then you will not only understand what is being said, but you'll also understand it in your first reading, which will give you a huge benefit in your scores. So try to do these. These are some ideas that are there for raising verbal scores. And I hope this video was helpful for all of you. Please do like, share, comment. Do spread the word around about Mindworks, as well as the Arun Sharma Mindworks channel, and also the Arun Sharma Academy and the Verbal Teacup. And do connect to us on Facebook, and we also on Instagram, but do connect to us on Facebook as well as Telegram. And I'll see you soon with more videos there. Thank you so much. Goodbye.